Hello and welcome to Levant TV headlines. The Islamic State jihadist group has claimed to have executed 11 pro-government fighters in Iraq in a series of photographs shared online. An Egyptian criminal court has sentenced ousted Islamist President Mohammed Morsi to 20 years in prison over the killing of protesters in 2012. A U.S. aircraft carrier is headed to the Arabian Sea as Washington said it was monitoring Iranian vessels suspected of carrying weapons to Houthi rebels in Yemen in violation of a UN embargo. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian says he is optimistic that a ceasefire in the Yemen conflict will be announced later on today. The United Nations Refugee Agency has confirmed 800 migrants died in a shipwreck off Libya on Sunday after speaking to survivors of the disaster. Now let's take a look at the top headlines in today's newspapers in the Middle East. Starting with the UAE, the Khalij Times leads, reporting that Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan met with President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden at the White House yesterday to discuss a range of bilateral and regional issues. The paper also reports that an Ethiopian maid jumped off a third-floor apartment in Sharjah after being found sobbing by a Sudanese couple who had invited her to stay in their flat the night before. From Lebanon, the Daily Star leads, reporting that families of Islamist inmates held at Roumieh prison escalated their actions to pressure authorities to restore their access to phones and computers to allow them to stay in touch. The paper also reports that the Lebanese army arrested 3 people suspected of shooting at soldiers in 2011. The Egypt Independent leads, reporting that Muslim Brotherhood leader Mohamed Morsi was sentenced to 20 years in prison without parole, nearly 3 years after he was declared Egypt's first freely elected president. The paper also reports that Armenian belly dancer Safanaz has been sentenced to 6 months in prison and fined 50,000 Egyptian liras for insulting the Egyptian flag after the dancer wore an outfit with the Egyptian flag's 3 colors and the eagle on it during a performance. Now let's take a look at the top Middle East headlines from the UK papers. The Guardian leads its Middle East news, reporting that the name of a Palestinian boy who was murdered by Jewish extremists in East Jerusalem last summer has been added to an official memorial wall in the city's Mount Herzl cemetery. The Defense Ministry announced the addition of Mohammed Abu Qadir, which was criticized by an Israeli group representing victims of terrorism, as Israel prepared to mark its annual Memorial Day for fallen soldiers and victims of terrorism. The Telegraph leads its Middle East news, reporting that the U.S. Navy aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt is steaming towards Yemeni waters to beef up security and join other American ships that are prepared to intercept any Iranian vessels carrying weapons to the Houthi rebels. The Navy has been beefing up its presence in the Gulf of Aden and the southern Arabian Sea in response to reports that a convoy of about 8 Iranian ships is heading toward Yemen and possibly carrying arms for the Houthis. The Independent leads its Middle East news, reporting that Iraqi Shia militia paraded what they claim is the body of Izzat Ibrahim al-Douri, Saddam Hussein's right-hand man, in a glass coffin before handing it over to the Ministry of Health in Baghdad. The man, nicknamed the King of Clubs because of his position in the US military's most wanted deck of playing cards, was reportedly killed by Iraqi troops and Shia militiamen. Now let's take a look at the top Middle East headlines in the international papers. From Germany, the Deutsche Welle reports that a mother and father from the UK, reportedly attempting to travel to Syria to join the Islamic State, along with their 4 children, have been detained by Turkish authorities after being tipped off by British officials that the family was expected to cross the Syrian border. And finally, China's Global Times reports that Yemeni Foreign Minister Riyad Yassin has rejected Iran's offer to mediate a solution to the crisis in his war-torn country, insisting that Tehran-backed rebels surrender. The minister said Yemen's exiled government will not accept negotiations unless the Houthis and pro-Saleh forces lay down arms. And for more updates, please visit Levant.tv. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join us again tomorrow. Bye for now.